So hello guys, my name is Kumar Singh. Now I'm discussing about that Newton's law. Newton's law are very basic laws from the physics, fundamental physics. So what we covered today, firstly we talk about that introduction to Newton's law, and then second we go for the second law, force and acceleration, and the third law, action and reaction, and then we go for application of Newton's law, and for the limitation of the Newton's law, and then we go for conclusion. So firstly we talk about that introduction to Newton's law. So what is the Newton's law? So Isaac Newton, that gives the three law of motion, are the foundation of the classical mechanics. Means classical mechanics is the fundamental of the that physics. So introduction to Newton's law. So Isaac Newton gives three law of motion that are the fundamental foundation. So introduction of to Newton's law. Isaac Newton gives three law of motion are the foundation of classical mechanics. These law describes the what is the relation between body and force, and acting upon it, how the body will move in response to that forces. The first law state that an object is rest, and it always remain at rest. An object in motion, then it will continue motion until unless then is any external force are not giving on that. So this is the first law of motion. In the example of the first law, you can say that whenever you throw a ball, the ball suppose you throw a ball in upper side, in upper sky side. So ball is grow up, but there is external force. The force is the air restriction force. Because of that, ball is not going for the much high, and they drop down. So this is the example of the first law. And you also say that the first law of example is that the next, the second law is that force and acceleration. What is the relation between force and acceleration? So Newton's law states that the acceleration of an object the is directly proportional to the net force acting upon it, and inversely proportional to its mass. Means whenever a body is moved, that there is a proportional to acceleration and inversely proportional to mass. This law also expressed mathematically as F equal to ma, where F is the force acting on that object and m is the mass of the object, and acceleration is the a is the acceleration of the object. So this is the second law of the motion. And the third line, the action and reaction. So Newton's third law state that for every action there is a equal and opposite reaction. What is means? This means that if one object exerts a force on another object, the second object will exert an equal and opposite force back on the first object. Like when we force to wall, suppose you give a 5 Newton force to wall. So wall is also reverse back 5 Newton force. This is the different matter that you don't feel that force, but there is a force, opposite and equal force also exist. This law is often demonstrated through the example of a rocket launching into space. Like when a rocket exerts a force downward, when the rocket launching in the sky, then you see that the rocket exerts a force downward, and the ground exerts an equal and opposite force upward, so allowing the rocket to lift up. So see, this is the best example of the third law, action reaction. The next is that application of the Newton's law. Newton's law of motion have countless applications and in our daily life for understanding and movement of the object and Earth to designing spacecraft for space exploration. One common application is the design of a roller coaster. Engineers use Newton's law to calculate the force and acceleration experienced by the riders on the coaster during ride. So next is that our limitation of the Newton law. What is the limitation of the Newton law? While Newton's law of motion are incredibly useful for describing the behavior of object in many situations, then but they have do have but they do have limitation. For example, these laws do not take into account the effect of the relative or quantum mechanics, which are necessary for describing the behavior of object. in quantum mechanics there is a need to understand the behavior of the object, but with the help of the Newton's law we can't find that. And Newton's law also not valid at a very high speed. So this is the limitation, we can say this is a limitation of the Newton's law. So conclusion of the Newton's law that in conclusion, Newton's law of motion are fundamental part of definitely. Newton's law is the basic and fundamental part of the physics and have countless applications in our daily life and beyond. While these laws have their limitation and they provide a of solid foundation for understanding the behavior of object in motion and designing system they take advantage of the behavior. So we can say that in our daily life there is a lot of this, a lot of things that we see that to wow. So Newton law explain that all these things how they move, how the things are work. So this is all about the Newton law from my side. Thank you guys.